here at Agile India 2017 with Hugo Messer, and we were just having a conversation about some of the challenges of distributed Agile, which is sort of a common occurrence here in India.
Yeah.
And
Quite common.
I think something interesting you were talking about is one of the challenges being cultural differences between India and North America. Do you want to talk a bit about that, maybe?
Yeah, I think what happens in a lot of teams is that the cultural differences are kind of underneath the surface. So they influence the collaboration or the teamwork on all levels, like in strategy, operation, and also the execution, scrum teams. And people are not really aware of the influence or the impact that culture has. So I think it is important to kind of make it explicit so that on both sides you can really identify, okay, what are the issues or the concerns that we have about culture, about each other's culture, so that you can find ways to organize around it. I also think there's, America, India is of course, time zone-wise, it's a big divide, and then culture-wise, it also is, I think, because, and the same for Europe, India, because in India, people are very much used to having hierarchical society. So when they're young, the dad tells the kid what to do. The teacher takes that role later on, and then the boss or the team lead or the project manager actually takes the role of giving work to people. So, and whereas in the West, I'm Dutch, so in Holland we've got a very flat society. Right. We're very open, straightforward. Yep. And that doesn't always match with this hierarchical, less open approach of people in India.
So what have you seen work, or what advice would you give to help with that?
So a couple of things. I mean, one thing is it's good to have a lot of people in the team that are empathic, especially the Scrum Master. If you work with Scrum, the Scrum Master is kind of the glue in the collaboration. So if somebody's empathic, he can better understand what moves other people. So he will have an inclination to really understand the motivations, the values, or the beliefs that somebody else has. And based on that, if you have that, you can accept that the differences are there and then find ways to organize around that. Another thing is that to make things explicit, as I said before. I think I created a culture canvas that can help people to give perspectives on, for example, quality or proactiveness from both sides, so that you see, okay, how do I as a Dutch think about my colleagues in India, and how do the Indian guys think about me? And if you make that explicit, it becomes more easy to understand each other and to work together.
Right, so just you're trying to help build the empathy to understand different people's needs and...
Yeah, I'm not sure I mean, empathy is something you have or you don't, I feel.
Okay.
I mean, you can stimulate, like you have your talk about introversion. Yes. I think empathy is something that you can probably get a little bit better at it.
Yes.
But if you're a very big introvert, I think it's going to be very hard to be empathic. Maybe it's stereotyping, but I think that there is some value in that.
So the other thing I think you talked about before was the challenges of time zones, and especially with the U.S., that's the most extreme, where we're in complete reverse time zones. So how can a team where people, I mean, we talk a lot about in Agile about having frequent communication. How do you resolve those types of challenges when you're working completely around the world?
Well, I mean, the most simple solution is go for Canada or South America, right? You're in the same time zone. It's a lot easier. Yes. Whereas, of course, India is the mecca of IT, so it's logical companies come here. But I think it's always possible to find some sort of time slot of overlap where you can communicate. You do your sprint planning, and of course, a lot of other companies use 24/7. So you can make people in India work in the nighttime and then catch up in the time difference. But I personally don't think that's a good thing to do, because human beings are better if they...
That doesn't sound very fair to me. Yes.
Yeah. I've heard crazy solutions there. Some people who work between, if it's East Coast America, they will hire somebody in New York to be kind of the interface for the time zone. So the person in New York transfers the communication for the current day to the Indian team. That's maybe a solution. I wouldn't use it, but...
I mean, the ideal is co-location.
Yes.
And can we start moving towards that, even if having a team in India and another team on the other side of the world are working together, can we start moving towards something that's like co-location?
Right. Well, I think the best solution if you work with Agile and Scrum is to have your product owner in the US and to have a proxy product owner co-located with the Scrum team. And the Scrum team means, the developers, the testers, everyone, plus the Scrum Master. And then this proxy product owner over time gets more responsibility on the product and making decisions. Because if then a developer gets stuck on something or needs clarification, then he can ask right away. So that, and then the proxy product owner, it takes time. They need to build trust between proxy product owner and product owner. But these guys can travel more frequently. Maybe every month they can try to build the next 2 sprints, and based on that understanding, he can take back things
right,
to
so we
India.
can start migrating to the point that my product owner, I can have fast feedback and information from them.
Yeah, and it's risky because that the proxy product owner won't be as close to the stakeholders or the users, but
it may not be as ideal as but it can be a lot better than say waiting 24 hours to get a response.
Right. That's probably worse because you get delay and and then in the end of the day, it's always the Indian guys who probably made the mistakes, who made the delay, and you don't deliver. But
well, thanks, Hugo. Really enjoyed talking to you here at Agile India 2017. Do you have anything left this week? Do you have any more talks, or are you all
No,
wrapped
I had
up?
only one 20-minute talk, and it was actually perfect. So.
And now you can enjoy the rest of the conference. And
yes, and fly back to Bali tonight.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much.
Okay, thanks.